This is what life's about. You're supposed to fail. It's the people that stay in the middle lane that never give themselves an opportunity to fail. Well, I say this all the time to my kids. You were put on this earth not to be a regular dude. Make a difference every single day. I tell my 11-year-old that every single day. Welcome to another episode of Kaizen Cast. Small steps, big changes. As you know, our motto is to help others, to try to strive to be a better person, to do better by others, and obviously put ourselves last, which, I find a lot of times most people don't. They put themselves first in a selfish way, and that's what causes us to break down, whether it's lack of communication or trust or whatever that may be. I'm finding out that, this motto that I have has always been inside of me, and to explain and strive to give it to others is something that I was supposed to do, and that's why we have this podcast. So today's episode is going to touch base on a couple different things. I always ask this question. I know I spoke about it before in my podcast, about what's the most important thing in life. And obviously a lot of people say family, which is very, very important. A lot of people, some of us don't have a family, or, you're young and you're starting a family, whatever that may be. And that is important, but that's not the most important thing. Then you get the same answer as the most important thing is money. Because that's the answer I would have gave at 23, 24, 25, pretty much my whole life until I got into probably my 40s. And the answer truly is time. Because what I'm realizing at 52, even though I feel like I'm 22, that half my life, I say half because I want to live to be over 100. So, and it could be shorter than that. I mean, some people live to be like my pops, only live to be 67. So that's crazy to think about. I'm 52 and he had, 15 more years to live. 15 more years is a blink of an eye. And I kept thinking about it. And it's interesting because time is flying by. And what I've realized through this so-called time is that the things that we're always trying to strive for, and when we get to, did we actually stack the small W's along the way? And the answer is, for me, as everybody knows, was no. And now I'm finding out that time is so much more important, because my path is the time of life is so much shorter. And I don't mean this in a morbid way, because obviously I told you I have another 50 years to live, and I plan on doing it. And there's a lot of things that I need to do to continue to be successful, to show my family the right way to live, and learn from my mistakes, but also be there for them, to see my grandkids grow up, to be a part of their lives, like, just so they're not just, they have to take care of Poppy. Like, that's not what I want. And I want them to know who I am, and the legacy that hopefully I left for them, so they can strive to be as better than I was, or I am. So it kept hitting me over and over again about time and how fast it's moving. And then I realized there's another compartment to that. It's believing in yourself and having the small circle of people believe in you that creates this time to move even faster. And what I mean by that is, it made me stop and think. I may get a little emotional because, I do miss my dad, but it made me think about what my mom and dad had. And I realized after all this time that the stuff they had together was truly amazing. and time cut it short. And the thing I think about is how much belief my mother had in my father to start a business, and she was going to run it. She had no idea how to even run a business, but she's a smart woman. Whew, this is harder than I thought, but it's all good. This is all positive stuff because I want people to understand that this is real. This is, there's no editing, there's no cuts, we're just letting this rip. So she believed in my dad so much, and my dad was one of the hardest working guys ever and loved his family so much, he would do anything to be successful. So I find myself in that same spot at 52, thinking about how am I going to become successful? How am I going to become more successful? How am I going to fix the mistakes that I made? And I think every single day is a new journey. And I've watched this since I was a young kid, knowing that I wanted to be as good or better than my parents. And that's a compliment to them because they always wanted me to be better. Now, have I fallen flat on my face? Have I failed? Absolutely. But this is what life's about. You're supposed to fail. It's the people that stay in the middle lane that never give themselves an opportunity to fail. Well, I say this all the time to my kids. You were put on this earth not to be a regular dude. Make a difference every single day. I tell my 11-year-old that every single day. He walks out that door and he's going through some shit. Like, it's not his favorite place in school. But you know what he's doing? He's grinding and he's making the best of it. And we communicate, we talk about it, and we'll find the solution. That's the most important thing. When you're able to communicate, see, that's the thing. When you have somebody stands next to you, like my wife, who's very, very strong, like my mother was strong to my father, stood by him no matter what, always had his back. It makes life a lot easier because even if you fail a little bit, you guys both fail, you pick each other up. And this is what I kind of teach my kids, that this is all part of life. And I will tell you this, in the hardest times, which just this little stretch financially, as people know, I've gone through, that 3.5 years, even though it sucked, it was like a blink of an eye. So now I'm like, holy shit. 52, my pops passed when he was 67. Like, again, I plan to live to be 100. That's still only 50 years. Less than, 48, actually. In case somebody wanted to, make fun of my math. But, the thing is that you could get caught up in it and be like, wow, this is crazy. Time is everything. People say it, time is money. It's the simple fact of life that time flies. And what I'm trying not to do is the other thing that I probably say 3 or 4 or 5 times a day, and I say it all the time on my podcast. Try not to live in the past because we live in anger. Don't live in the future because then that brings on fear and anxiety, which 90% of the time that stuff doesn't come true. And I'm really trying to live in the moment, which is really, really hard for me. But here's what I will tell you. When I do that, my days fly by. And then that brings me back to like when the only thing that was on my mind, there was no time, it was just about me trying to print money and make more and prove. And again, what a horrible way to live. Like, make more money to prove people wrong. What? I think about that all the time. And I did it. And it wasn't about proof. Like, I made more money than most people make in their lifetimes, in years, and lost it all. Like, I mean, the things that I've done are just, people say I should write a book, maybe someday. But my point is that where I was, money was, it was, again, go back to the Bible. Money is good when it is used for good, but when you worship it, it's evil. It's the root of all evil. And I've come to realize that, like, where I am now in my life, if I make millions again, fantastic. If I don't, and I got to keep going, but I'm happy as I've ever been, then this works too. And if it's a combination of both, then I'm truly blessed. And I will tell you this. When you're helping others, the time flies too. It helps with, number one, it helps me with my anger/anxiety. I had a situation that happened to me 3 days ago. I had to leave Ty's game early because I had an appointment that I had to get to that was 30 minutes away, and I was frustrated because I didn't want to leave Ty's game because I feel like having him down here I'm catching up for lost time. Again, it goes back to time. And again, I try not to live in the past because, then that makes me feel bad or sad that I didn't spend as much time with him as I should. So I'm driving to the appointment and I'm like, I need to get out of this feeling that I have, which is that anger/anxiety, which causes me to be in that state that I used to live in 24/7, 365, and it's a horrible place. And the truth be told, I just asked for God to help me. Just let me help someone. Not help me. Let me help somebody else. And again, money doesn't cure all problems, but there was somebody on the side of the road, obviously said that was homeless, and I rolled down the window and I said, here's $5. Hopefully you will get a cup of coffee or get something to eat and not use it for drugs. Obviously, the meth and opioid addictions that are out there are just terrible. And I wish I had more time to speak with this young lady because I said, please, take care of yourself and God bless you. And she says, I'm really trying. I don't know though. She looks scared. Did I help her? I hope so. I hope she used the money for something better than, going to drugs. But I guess at that point, that was my thank you from God to say, okay, I was trying to help somebody today. I know I'm doing the right things. And I know I'm raising my kids the right way because I have another story for you. Last week, my son Ty comes home from IMG and he was like, Dad, we were driving out to go, his teammate and him were driving out to get something to eat for lunch. And they were pulling out of the IMG parking lot. And this old gentleman, they saw fall off his bike, fell again the second time into the bushes. And Ty pulled over and him and his buddy got out. And then there happened to be a security guard at the front gate that actually came over also. And they thought this old man was dead because he was laying in the bushes and wasn't moving. And then he finally said he was okay, but they were like, where does it hurt? And he said everywhere. I mean, this guy was old. So my son asked him where he lived because they tried to call him. He didn't want an ambulance. He didn't want anything. So my son and his teammate took him and put him in the back of his truck and drove him to his house. And then the security guard took the bike and threw it in the back of his pickup and they drove it over there. And his wife was waiting in the driveway for him. So my point is to you is that these little things that you think that they're not listening to or, that you're instilling in their brains, when they actually do it, that's worth more than $1 million. Because that means I'm raising my children the right way. It's important to me, especially my young, especially the men in my family, because, we're supposed to protect our family. My daughters are beautiful. She can handle herself too. She does the right thing all the time. She's amazing. So I'm not knocking her in any way because she's a female. But that story just proves to me that I'm doing the right things, and even in my worst times, I think I was doing the right thing when it came to helping others. Maybe I was just doing it like monetarily, being too generous or whatever, but now it's a combination of everything. And when you do that, we get so caught up in our own bullshit and then realize that our stuff, when you see something like that happen, like our stuff is really not that important. Like a lot of times what we end up doing is creating all this drama and in our own headspace, and there's really not a lot of drama. As simple as that. Let me get back to the story, the strong female by your side. My mom, my wife. It's super important because when you do these things and you do them together as a team, time flies by. When you do it in a sense where you're butting heads all the time and there's always a second guess, and then that's when things really slow down and you're like always on the defense. You can't have that. You can't have that because there's going to be times in your life where you're going to have to make really, really hard decisions. And the only way you can do that is if your partner and yourself can communicate and sit down and talk about the really, really hard things that you have to talk about. If you ice them out or block them out, or your opinion is always the opposite of your partner or spouse, significant other, then it's almost like, man, are you supposed to be together? Maybe that's why divorce rate is, over 50%. Lack of communication slows things down to a crawl. Because what you end up doing is bottling stuff up and going to the wrong people for advice. The advice you should get should be done in your own house with your partner. And when you have a strong partner next to you, it makes decisions a lot easier. Are you going to agree on every single thing? Absolutely not. We're human. But if your partner or significant other can deliver it in a way where it's not a way where you sound stupid or that's a ridiculous thing to think of, and it's kind of like, hey, that's actually a really good way to think about it, but did you think about maybe tweaking it this way? And then you're on the right track. And then what it ends up doing is causing you to want to work harder to make that dream or goal come true. This has all kind of come together today because it's about the other thing is about believing in it. Believing in your goals, believing in each other, and having the ability to push it over the goal line and score a touchdown, basically, and to do it. That's the most amazing thing that I've actually come to realize. Because a lot of times you need that little extra push, or you need that little extra help, support to say, you know what, you're on the right track. You just got to keep going. It's interesting how fast everything is moving in my life. It's getting to a point where I'm like, man, I can't believe every time I turn around, it's almost Friday again. Like, where did the week go? And then the week, you forget about the weekends. It's just, see you. And now before you know it, like, ties into a spring season. I mean, we were just talking about Ty being down here, going to IMG, and now all of a sudden we're into a spring season. And those are going to snap by in the next 2-3 months. It's just been truly amazing to think about how quick things have moved since I've been sober. And I remember this. Talk about backwards thinking, how I was. The first thing I said to my wife was, I spent so much time drinking and in a bar that I'm going to have so much free time. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. Well, I'll tell you, I don't have time to think. I was just telling Ethan that, before we started filming, I'm like, I'm always so busy, whether it's work, whether it's kids, whether it's whatever. Never mind for myself. Very rarely do I play golf anymore. And I'm not complaining because I'm busy and I'm moving forward. I mean, I would love to play more golf, but it's just not in the cards right now. Maybe down the road. And I thought, like, oh God, I'm going to have so much free time. I'll be able to go do this and do that. I don't have time to breathe. Before I know it, I'm like, it's dinner time. And then we're cleaning up. And then we're getting ready for bed. And then we're doing it all over again. It's not like I'm traveling the world. That's not happening. But I will tell you what we're doing is we're building this foundation. And even, I can't even believe it, 39 episodes. Almost, I think we missed 1 week throughout Christmas and New Year's, but outside of that, we've had 39 episodes since we started. It's just incredible how fast the time is moving. I tell everybody to take a deep breath for a minute instead of just trying to plow through the day. Take a minute and enjoy it. Even the shittiest part of the day. You may get some really shitty news, but it's how you handle it and how you address it. You could spin it into a small W. I'll give you one. My youngest son is going through a period where it's not, he's having a little anxiety sleeping, so our sleep is off. But we're going to fix it and talk about it and communicate about it because it's just part of life. I did it when I was a kid. I remember I was nervous to go to bed. I had an upstairs bedroom and my brothers weren't coming up at that time, so I would sleep down in my mom's room until I felt, and then I'm pretty sure, gotta double check with my mother, but even at my age, where I was pretty heavy at the time, probably 70 pounds, 80 pounds, maybe heavier, my dad was carrying me up the stairs when I would pass out on the bed or whatever so I could go to bed. It's all part of life, and we just need to slow it down and try to live in that moment, even though it's hard, and say, how can we make it a little bit better? It's not going to be perfect, and it's not going to happen overnight. We can't snap our fingers and say, oh, he's fixed. It doesn't work that way. And I have it, this is one of the things I need to continually work on, which I'm doing, but when I'm exhausted, I'm quick triggered and I'm snappy. And I have to understand that he's going through a period of time in his life that I went through and have to be a little bit more understanding. And I feel like what he's going through, I remember like it was yesterday, and I'm 52, and this is, when I was probably 11 years old. Talking 40 years ago. But you forget about that. Now you're an adult, you're a parent, but you don't, and that's when you really have to bear down. Because I literally snapped my fingers and I went back 42 years, like, literally, in seconds, and remember this now. But in the moment, I didn't do a great job with it because I was upset because I wanted to go to bed. I'm like, I don't understand why he can't just get over this. It just doesn't work like that. It's not as simple as that. And then I think about my other kids who are in their 20s that I probably wasn't, I don't remember it. How's that? That's terrible if they went through it. So talk about being there but not being present. That I'm sorry for. But I try to do a better job each day to stay in the moment because it's super important that I do. And the more I stay in the moment, the more it makes me focused and the better a chance I have of enjoying each day because time is really flying. And I woke up thinking about that today. I'm like, man, I can't believe it. I can't believe how much time is going by in my life and how much anger I had, and I wasted so much energy and time. And when my mom hears this episode, she's going to start cracking up too, because she used to say to me all the time, don't waste your energy on anger and frustration and focus on the positive. And now here's me 40 years later spitting out the same stuff she was saying. Yes, Mom, I was listening to you, all those talks on our bed when I was a young kid, so thank you. So my point is today is in stay in the moment, but also enjoy this time. You're making changes in your life, it's not going to be easy. But when you make changes, it helps you grow as a person. People that don't make any changes in their life and they do the same bullshit every day, and then like, they're never going to grow as a person. They're just going to stay where they are. Which leads me into the next thing, because one of my favorite guys that owns Lions Not Sheep is Sean Whalen. And I was listening to his TikTok today. And this is one of the things he said.
There's a specific person that you've got to get out of your life right now. It's the person that wants to remind you of who you were. It's the person who wants to remind you of how you used to be, what you used to do, how you used to do it. That used to person's dead. Anybody who wants to resurrect that person cannot be in your life. There is nothing more important than getting people out of your life. They want to pretend you're the person you were yesterday. They want to act like you're the person you were yesterday. You're evolving, you're growing, you're advancing. You need to be focused on you right now, and anybody that wants to bring you back, anybody that wants to pretend you are the same person that they knew 1, 2, 6, 7 years ago, get them the hell out of your life. There's a specific person that you...
Wow. I mean, if that's not exactly what I've been doing, and, I used to feel bad, like, all these people don't contact me anymore. No, I'm doing exactly what Sean Whalen just said. Because I'm evolving, and they're still staying in the same place. And they may not like the change, so they want the old guy back for whatever reason, because they thought that guy was fun. And now I'm just dedicated, motivated, making change, looking to better myself, not stuck in the same rut, not overweight, not drinking like an idiot. Again, I blame nobody for that except for me. That's one thing I will say. I hope, or I know I'm going to tell my wife, because I always tell her I'm going to, not to be morbid again, but die before she does. And I just know it. But I tell her all the time, I want accountability put on my gravestone. Because that's what I care about the most. That's what upsets me about this country. The lack of accountability, the lies. Because I lived in it. So I can talk about it better than anybody. And I did it. And I said I was sorry and I apologize. And some people are going to hate me forever. I'm sorry. Hate me forever. But I've made changes for the better. And I guess those people weren't supposed to be in my life. And that's fine too. But I want accountability on my gravestone because I have it and I'm teaching my kids that. Sean Whalen just said it best. Get them out of your life. Most people don't want to make the change because that change is too hard. But they're living in shit. Or they'll make an excuse. Oh, we stay together because of the kids. Bullshit. Kids are resilient. They're unbelievably resilient. They will make the change for the better. That's just an excuse. That's a crutch for people. Or I don't want to leave my family. We got to move to a different state. I don't want to leave my family. That's because you don't want to leave. You'd rather stay in the shit that you're in and deal with that nonsense than make it what's best for you and your family. Again, there's different circumstances for different people, and some families may have elderly that are ill, and I understand that. But my point is that a lot of times people are, I have to stick around because of we have for my grandkids, and I that's fine. But is it affecting you and your family, how you are as a person? Then I don't know. You're not living your life. That's for sure. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to live my life with a shorter period of time left to the fullest. But the most important thing is living in the moment. The 4 agreements that I just spoke about a couple times over and over talk about living in the moment at the end of the book. And the last little piece is obviously bringing God back into your life, or keeping him in your life, or whatever spiritual person you believe in, because it's important. If you don't, there's an empty void. Because I don't care how many materialistic things. You could have more cars, more watches, more whatever, bigger houses, multiple houses. Not the same as spiritual. Seen it, done it, had them. Not the same feeling. And I think we're lost in this world. Because we're always on fast forward. We're always thinking of, people work 7 days a week now to make ends meet. And they did it way back when too, but it's a lot less family time, and it's more of on the go. One kid's got this sport, another kid's, and then there's no church on Sunday because there's travel baseball, or there's dance, or there's gymnastics. There's a tournament that we have to get to that's in wherever, Orlando. So then we're away for the weekend. And you lose focus, and you lose sight of the spiritual part of your life. And that's important. I needed to share that with everybody, and I know it was a little emotional. I always get emotional when I talk about my pops. But my mom's a big part of that. And she's a big, huge supporter. And I just want to say thank you. And obviously to my wife. She's my biggest fan. My hardest critic, of course, which, if anybody knows my wife, you wouldn't expect anything less. But that's okay. I take that because that's done out of love. And I'm truly blessed. Truly blessed. Whatever happens going forward, wherever life takes me, I'm going to be okay. Not sure I could have said that 10 years ago, 12 years ago, because I was in such a bad headspace. I just was in a bad place. Physically, emotionally, and I'm sorry to everybody that I hurt, but at the end of the day, I had to deal with this in my own way. And in truth be told, another part of what they always say, time heals all wounds. It's just about the time and the energy you put out there that creates the life you want to have. You want to live with anger, chaos, drama, then do a lot of stupid shit and hang around with not like-minded people. Very simple. You want peace, you want harmony, you want to have all that stuff. Be around like-minded people, keep your circle small, and work really hard. And trust your partner that loves you to death. That's the most important thing too, which I watched my mom and dad do for so long. So I just want to thank everybody, all my followers. I've got a lot of new followers. Uh, thanks to Ethan and Diane that have been working so hard behind the scenes for social media, and I'm truly blessed to have them in my life too. And like I said, I want to blow this thing up as big as we possibly can, and keep having great people on, and I have some guests lined up that I'm looking forward to have come on, and it's going to be a lot of fun. This for me, just so everybody knows before we say goodbye, this for me is the best therapy that I could have. To get to talk to people, to help people, but also helps me in a selfish way. This is what I was always supposed to do. I never realized that until recently, because I always thought, oh man, I was supposed to be this pro baseball player. I was never supposed to be a pro baseball player. I found out that my hips, the way my hips were set, and that I had bad hips, and I already had one hip replacement. I have another one soon, and I'm pretty young for hip replacement, but it's just the way that my body was built. So I would have never ever made it. But I know what I'm really supposed to do is help people along the way, whether it's younger people, older people, even people my age. Because there's no greater feeling. And it's not about the money. I don't make any money on this. I lose money. Maybe someday we'll make money. I don't know. If it happens, it happens. But what I'm doing now is healing myself, but also trying to heal others. Because there's a lot of people out there that are hurting that can't do this. That have to eat this every single day. Because they don't want to tell their story because they're embarrassed. Fuck embarrassed. Who cares what people think? I certainly don't. I used to. You got to keep that a secret. Why? That's personal stuff. So there's a lot of people that screw up every day. Just take accountability for your shit. Try to fix it and move forward. And flush that. And stay in the moment. And try to enjoy each day. Because it goes really, really quick. I remember my dad saying it to me all the time. Time's flying by. Time's flying by. Well, sure enough, it flew by, and now he's not here, and he hasn't been here for a while. And I'm 52, in a blink of an eye. It's incredible. So, thank you all once again. Today's episode, kind of touched on, obviously, time, but how we handle our time, how we use it emotionally, how we want to become better people, and also having the strong people next to you that can give you the ability to enjoy the time that you have, even through the hard times. Thank you all for listening. I look forward to hearing more questions, by the way, coming through. And please continue to follow and hit the like button, hit the share button. It really does help us get the message out there. And like I said, what we want to do is help others. And have a great rest of the week, and God bless. Thank you.